Alright, so you're new to Dauntless, right? And you're looking for a build to help you farm those 10 to 50 escalations. The problem is all the builds you keep seeing all use gear from Escalation, be it the armor or the legendary weapons themselves. Well, I've got a solution for you. I present to you Newbie's first build. This is going to be a really viable build for any new player to the game with or without all the cells to put into the gear. But it definitely gets better the more the cells you get to +3. I'm going to go over this build real quick with all the cells in it for you. Now, the best thing about this build is you can get everything outside of Escalation, and we chose equipment specifically for this build that's not going to be too challenging to farm with whatever you currently have. This build is also weapon independent, so you can use any weapon you prefer to play with this build. You will need to use the Savit's weapon, but any of Savit's weapons, be it axe, sword, repeaters, it doesn't matter. They will all work perfectly fine, and this build will give you some decent damage and decent survivability, and two of the things that are optional are going to let you scale that survivability and that damage to your personal preference. So first off, we have the Savit weapon. This is going to give you +3 pulse and a pretty good unique effect. Not the best unique effect in my opinion, but a pretty good one. Also, this is the weapon you're going to bond to Malkirion's weapon when you get Malkirion's weapon from the 10 to 50 lightning escalation. The 10 to 50 lightning escalation is also the easiest escalation in my personal opinion, so that will most likely be the first legendary weapon you end up picking up. So you might as well have the thing you're going to bond it to already power surged and ready to go. Now, as far as the cells for this goes, we're going to put a pulse cell and a cunning cell. We're not going to go over the specials and the mods for these because these are going to be very dependent on which weapon you decide to play. So play around with them. Learn each of the unique specials and mods and find the ones that fit your playstyle the best. If you are playing Chainblades though, Reaper's Dance, it's not optional. As far as the Omni Cell goes, if you want more survivability, of course, go with Iceborne. Other than that, I would personally recommend learning how to play Revenant with this build early on. If you end up going with the Skarn's Lantern with this build, it is already set up perfectly fine to be running Revenant. Revenant is a great late game Omni Cell. Learning it early is only going to benefit you in the long run. You could also run Discipline with this build, but I do not recommend running Discipline this early in the game. You're going to need to get a lot better at dodging and managing your resources before going with Discipline. So Revenant or Iceborne would be my personal preference for new players with this build. Tempest works as well and will get you used to the Tempest playstyle, but honestly the Tempest playstyle is not that great late game. Now for the Lantern, we're going to put an Etheric Attunement cell in it. This is going to let you use your Lantern more often. Plus the Etheric Attunement cell is going to give you a lot of added survivability depending on the Lantern you pick, or a lot of extra damage depending on the Lantern you pick. Personally, I would recommend going with Skarn's Defiance and Revenant with this build. Skarn's Defiance is going to end up being your survivability, and Etheric Attunement is going to help with that. Some other really good Lanterns I would recommend though, especially when you first start going into Escalation. Koshai's Bloom. Not only does this give you some survivability with a 15% lifesteal for 10 seconds when you activate it, but this lantern has the unique effect of being able to get you out of bubbles. So if the behemoth grabs you, you can escape from that grab attack. And a lot of the escalation behemoths do grab attacks. So this is a very handy one if you're trying to solo your first escalation. Shrike's Zill will give you some added attack speed. This is a good option if you're learning how to play hammer, or if you're learning how to play axe and you're struggling to get those combos completely finished. Shrike's Zill would be a good option for you to get used to axe and hammer without the pressure of using that weapon so slow. Pangar's Shrine. This is one of the most used lanterns in all of Dauntless. This one has such great damage output, but not only does it have great damage output, but it also slows down the behemoth. This is definitely a favorite lantern of Trials players. Definitely would recommend using this one if you don't need the added survivability of Skarn's Lantern. For the helmet, we're going with the Thunderdeep Capacitor. I really enjoy this helmet. Sharpen's not going to be a great stat for end-game builds, but since you are still trying to collect parts, Sharpen will give you that added boost of part damage that should help you break parts off of those escalation behemoths and finish your end game build a little bit earlier. And we're going to put a Cunning cell in here at whatever level you have available. For the jacket, we're going to with Scravewing's jacket. This might be a little bit of an aggravating item for you to farm early on in the game, but it is really a great item that will carry you well into the end game. You will probably see a lot of late game builds using this jacket with a +3 adrenaline cell in it as well to get the full +6 adrenaline, because adrenaline just has so much raw damage output on it as you run your stamina low during a fight. Really good piece of armor, definitely worth the power surge. For this particular build though, we're going to put Evasive Fury on this. This is going to give you an added attack speed bonus when you dodge through an attack. For the gloves, we're going with Grasp of Thorns. We're going with this because it does give you a nice Evasive Fury bonus. Not the best piece of gear to carry on into the late game, but a good piece of gear for early on. There's not a lot of good glove options outside of Escalation, so we went with this one to give you some extra attack speed on those dodges. In this, we're going to put whatever level available of Sharpen cell you have to help you get those part breaks when you first get into Escalation. For the boots, we're going with Scravewing boots. You can farm these at the same time you're working on the chest. These also give you adrenaline, finishing off your adrenaline stack, and they give you a place to put that other etheric attunement cell. A good pair of boots. You might actually see these in some of the builds late game as well, because having a second insight cell slot is very useful for getting a +6 of an insight cell without having to put it in your weapon late game with your legendary weapon. You're probably not going to be using a lot of tonics, but tonics I would definitely recommend carrying around with you on a regular basis and getting used to how they work, because these will most likely be the 3 tonics you use with most builds in trials and other late game content. The Blitz tonic, the Frenzy tonic, and the Ether Drive tonic. Blitz gives you attack speed and the Frenzy tonic gives you extra damage. The Etheric Drive tonic works a lot like Etheric Attunement, and this is a really good tonic late game. This will even stack with your Etheric Attunement, but these tonics honestly work best when you're running +6 Catalyst, and I would just stockpile as many of these as you can to get ready for late game when you're running +6 Catalyst, but definitely play around with them to learn how effective they can be in different situations. Alright, so let's break down the perks you're going to have when you have all +3 cells in this build and you're ready to step into Escalation for the first time. +6 Adrenaline is going to give you 3 damage for every 10 stamina you're missing. Again, by dodging, you're going to drain stamina. By sprinting with your weapons out, you're going to drain stamina. And a lot of weapons actually drain stamina as you attack, building up more and more damage over time. Really great cell and one of the best early game damage cells you're going to have access to, because it's conditional on your stamina, not conditional on the behemoth being knocked down or by you being hit by the behemoth or something like that. Etheric Attunement, when it's all the way up to +6, is going to reduce your lantern cooldown by a whole 50%, giving you a lot more uptime on your Skarn's Lantern for survivability, your Pangar's Lantern to help control the fight more and do damage, or your Koshai's Lantern so you can get out of those nasty holds that the Escalation behemoths like to do to new players. +6 Cunning. At +6, this is going to give you 10% critical strike chance, helping you increase that damage, but also give you 30% critical strike damage, making those crits sting all that much more. One of the best cells in the game. Honestly, you will see this in a lot of in-game builds. That plus 30% critical strike damage is absolutely amazing early in the game and late in the game. Definitely get a pair of these at +3 as soon as you can. Next up, we have the Evasive Fury cell. Now at +6, after dodging through an attack, you're going to gain a whole 15% attack speed for 25 seconds. I like having this in this build because it encourages you to dodge, because dodging isn't going to cost you damage, it's going to help increase your damage. And getting good at dodging in this game is essential to helping you progress through trials, Escalation, and Gauntlet later on in the game. +6 Pulse. Every 5th hit of your weapon is a guaranteed critical strike and gives you another 15% critical strike damage. This synergizes really well with Cunning, and I like to run these two together in a lot of my in-game builds. That guaranteed critical strike, with the assistance of the extra speed you're getting from Evasive Fury, can really amp up your damage. Now, the one kind of controversial cell we have in this build is going to be Sharpened. A lot of in-game players don't like Sharpened because it's giving you part damage instead of core damage. Now, part damage does not help you kill the behemoth any faster, but what it does do is help you break the parts off the behemoth. Now, the 30% damage bonus you get at +6 is not all that helpful in helping break those parts. What is helpful, though, is after you dodge an attack, your next attack in 5 seconds is going to do 100% extra part damage. That is in addition to the 30% you already get from this. So again, encouraging you to dodge to get those parts you need for that better armor. And instead of recording me playing this build with every weapon, showing you what a player that's been playing Dauntless for a long time can do with the build, I want you to go out, make this build, make this build your own and give it a shot. For you veteran players that have made it to this point in the video, if you guys have some feedback on things you would change about this build or some advice you'd give the new players watching this video, leave it in the comment section down below. And for you new players, definitely check out the comment section down below and get some feedback from some of the other players that have been playing the game for a while. And don't forget to subscribe if you're looking for more Dauntless content, such as build guides for when you get that escalation gear or you start farming the escalations, or if you want more advice for newer players. Also, if you're a newer player to Dauntless, I'm going to leave a video right up here that's going to tell you how to get your cells to +3 faster, and I will see you guys in the next video.